Here we go. So I have found, so I've been doing this 30 years, and I have found over the years that most people do marketing backwards. In other words, they start with the marketing tools and they say something like, I need to do social media. I really should be doing social media. I hear that a lot. And I say, no, not necessarily. It depends. Or they start with something like, I should be blogging. Everyone's blogging. Everyone's got a blog. I can't think of anything to blog about. And I say, no, maybe, let's see. Or someone recently said to me, do I really have to do networking? And I said, well, it depends. If you start with the marketing tools, then it's very difficult to know what to do with them. But part of the problem is that this is an image from 2016, and if you've seen it before, you know that this is the thousands of marketing technology tools that are out there. These are just the technology tools. So no wonder people are overwhelmed and procrastinating their marketing. It's because there's so many different ways you could be doing it, especially if you start with the marketing tools. How do you decide which ones? However, I think it makes more sense to start with the market. Everything flows from the market. Everything will be determined by the market if you can choose a market, or I like to make it plural, markets. So an example of that is I have experience in technology, a very broad market. So let me find out how they use my services, how they think about my services, how they perceive the need for my services. If the market doesn't perceive a need for your services, whether you perceive it or not, it's not a viable market because they're not going to spend the money that you need to charge. Or you might say to yourself, I'm passionate about the environment, so I'd love to build websites or do annual reports for environmental nonprofits, right? You start with something, you don't even have to be passionate about it. It helps if you are enthusiastic. It helps if you have experience. But the idea is to start with the market, start outside of yourself, not with what are the marketing tools. So the big idea behind the simplest marketing plan for 2019 is this, that marketing works when you know who you're looking for. Again, that's the market. You know where to find them. Those are the places they go, both online and off. You learn what they need to hear in order to trust you, because they won't choose to work with you. They won't hire you to work with them until and unless they trust you. And that trust takes time to cultivate, and you cultivate it through your marketing. And then you make what they need to hear the core message of your marketing. That's your content marketing and your marketing content. Those are two different things. And then, and only then, do you choose the tools that will most effectively reach them with that message. And again, most people start with the tools and then they try to work themselves back up, but it doesn't work that way. You have to start with the market. So the first step in that process is identifying your ideal clients. These are sometimes the current clients or the one current client you have that is your favorite that you would like to clone. Your ideal clients are the ones who value the services you provide and your specialty, if you have a specialty, and it's always a good idea to have a specialty or two. They are the ones who are ready and willing to pay what you need to charge, what you are worth. And it's very difficult to get people or clients to pay what you're worth if they don't have the money in the first place. So those would not be the ideal clients. No matter what you're worth, you can't make them pay it if they don't perceive the value or have the money. And these are the ones who are pre-qualified via either your website or through a conversation. So you're not wasting time talking to people who are not in a position to pay what you need to charge in the first place. And I see a lot of people wasting time, especially creating proposals for prospects who can't afford the services in the first place, except you didn't talk about money at all. And so that's why you may not hear from them ever again once you submit your proposal. That's also a big problem that I see. And of course, your ideal clients are the ones that you want to work with. And so marketing gives you an opportunity to select the people and the companies and the industries that you want to work with. Otherwise, you have to take whatever comes along. Then, once you know who your ideal clients are, you position yourself for them so that they say, this is exactly who we need. This is what you want them to think when they land on your website. And this is an example of the website of Conrad Winter, who is a copywriter. I'll tell you a little bit more about him later on. But what I love about his website is it speaks to this idea of, this is exactly who I need, because he says, you found me. He's speaking directly to the people he's trying to attract, and they're relaxing when they land here because they say, he says, you found me. And of course, in life and in business, relationships are everything. And so the idea is that with your ideal clients, once you identify them and you position yourself for them, and you begin through marketing to cultivate your relationships with them, because the relationships are everything. And the relationship starts with your elevator pitch, with your introduction, with your answer to the question, what do you do? So there's no right way to answer the question, what do you do? But I'm going to give you my 3 approaches that I advise people to experiment with to see which is the strongest. By experimentation, right? You try it out on people to see who responds most positively to which approach. And then the thing is, your elevator pitch is never finished. It's never done. It has to constantly evolve, as you and your business have to constantly evolve. So the 3 approaches that I advise, and I'll use myself as the example here, is to start by emphasizing the pain. So what do you do? I sometimes say, I work with creatives who hate self-promotion and networking. And the message I'm trying to convey when I say that is, I feel your pain. And really often what the clients want is to know that you feel their pain. This is actually one of the most effective approaches to the elevator pitch, is to emphasize the pain. So think about for yourself, what would your elevator pitch be if you emphasize the pain? Notice it doesn't say anything about what I actually do. That doesn't matter. It just says, I work with people just like you who hate this and this, right? Or who are uncomfortable with this and this, or who are embarrassed by their websites. That's another example of feeling the pain. The second approach is when you emphasize their need, the perceived need, the need that they are aware that they have, with the language that's already in their head. Because when they land on your website, if they see that language, they're going to say, this is exactly who we need. So my version of that is, I train creative professionals to be business professionals too, because most people who are ready to do marketing realize that there's a business aspect to their business that they have not learned about yet, or not learned enough about yet, and they want help. So my message underneath my elevator pitch here is, I know what you need and I can help you with it. I can provide it. What would your version be if it were based on emphasizing the perceived need of the client? And the third approach is when you emphasize the result or the effect of the work that you do. And again, here, you're not really saying anything about how you do what you do. You're talking about what you deliver and what they get. So my version of that is, I show creative professionals how to get better clients with bigger budgets. I do actually sometimes say bigger clients with better budgets. It goes both ways, but the message underneath is, I know your goals and I can help you get there. So what would your version be if you needed to say, I know your goals and I can help you get there to your clients? And the thing about the elevator pitch that is sometimes elusive to people is that it's actually not about you. It's about your clients. It's about your ideal clients. It's about what they need, and only about you in the context that you can help them get there or fix that problem. That's sometimes hard for people to get their mind around. Now I want to move on to what I think of as the marketing foundation, because in addition to your ideal client and your elevator pitch, your marketing foundation also needs 3 other things. It needs a focus, and sometimes this is thought about or called a niche. And a lot of people, especially creative people, seem to resist and I think actually misunderstand the idea of a niche. It doesn't mean that you're going to pick a niche and that's all you're ever going to do for the rest of your life, even if other things come to you. No, that's not it. Picking a niche, choosing a place to focus is where you put your marketing energy, your marketing time, your marketing efforts. Because the more you focus, the more you can connect the dots and convey the right language to the right people so that they see it and hear it at the right time and are in a position to hire you. And I've noticed lately when I talk to my clients, they say that their clients ask them for specialists. Are you a specialist in this? Are you a specialist in that? They are looking for specialists, which to me means you have to give the market what it wants. And you can position yourself as a specialist in a couple different areas, but keep it, I would say, to 2 or 3 at the most, and then allow yourself to focus on it. Part of your marketing foundation should also include your LinkedIn profile. I'm not a huge fan of social media in general as a marketing tool. I think there are a few strategic ways you can use it, but it's not the one and only marketing tool you should be using. And if you have to choose, again, depending on who your market is, usually from a business to business professional perspective, LinkedIn, which is essentially a database of professionals, is the most effective social media platform for business. So I would start with that and make sure that your LinkedIn profile, like your elevator pitch, is not about you. It's about the needs and the problems of your ideal clients, and only then do you talk about how you help them. And number 3 is what I call a marketing smart website. So in the same way that your elevator pitch isn't about you and your LinkedIn profile isn't about you, your website is also not about you. What makes it marketing smart is that it's about them and not about you. So here's an example of a client, Hartwell Studio Works, and this is the homepage with the positioning statement. Hartwell Studio Works creates athletics identities for selective schools that want big results. So right there, he's saying, here's who we work with, here's our focus, here's our niche, and here's what we help them get, big results. And then underneath, the tagline is sports branding that moves your bottom line, speaking to the needs and the goals of that market. Here's another example from a copywriter. This is the homepage. It says, can you talk? Then writing just got fun. And as you can see, she is speaking to people who don't like writing, but if they can talk, she will help them with the writing. So it doesn't even say what she does. It just talks about the pain. This is an example of a marketing smart website that emphasizes the pain. You talk, I work my magic, words your clients love is what comes out. And then finally, another example from Sparkbox, which is another client, join forces for a better web. So everything here, better performance, better conversions, better design, better accessibility, a better web. It's what we do with you. So only about them in the context of what their clients are trying to accomplish. So hopefully those examples show you a little bit what I mean about your marketing should not be about you. And one final aspect of your marketing foundation is curiosity, because I think that when you use curiosity and let it inform your content marketing, then you become what I like to think of as a business detective. And being a business detective, like my very favorite detective, Columbo, means that you go with questions, with humility, with ignorance almost, and you're not afraid to ask what might be perceived as stupid questions because your goal is to learn. And when you learn, you use what you learn in your marketing and especially for your content marketing. So let me define content marketing here because it is one of the most important elements of the simplest marketing plan. Content is information that is relevant and useful to your ideal clients, and it isn't about you. It's about them. Everything is about them. Everything starts with the market. And pain points, their pain, which is what they care about, what they're trying to solve and fix and cure, is the foundation of your content. It's not the only approach to content marketing, but I have found it's one of the most effective approaches to content marketing. So I'll show you what I mean. There's standard content, which is what most people create. It's what you know about what you do. And that's what most people create because that's what they're most familiar with. But the other kind of content is more effective and it's more compelling and it's more engaging to the people you're trying to reach. And that is what I call bat signal or pain point content because it is what you know about your ideal client's pain and what they're struggling with. And that's why it's a bat signal. It attracts them because it has something to do with them. So again, it's the difference between you saying, here's what I or we know all about, which is what most people create content from, versus here's what I or we know that you are struggling with. All right, so that's the concept. But how do you find pain points? How do you know what your client's pain points are? And this could be a problem, but I have found that there are some pretty universal pain points. So here's the difference between something that is and isn't a pain point. One client may say, we need to raise awareness, which is a goal. It's not a pain point. The pain point version of that is not enough people are seeing us or the wrong people are finding us. So your content and your content marketing could be rooted in the idea that not enough people are seeing them or the wrong people are finding them, which would be more effective and more compelling to them than this idea of how do we raise awareness. Goals, as I said, are not pain points. There's nothing wrong with goals, and you can write content about goals, but it's just not as effective. So as I said, there are universal pain points, and the number one most common, and I would say most painful pain point these days, and this is just anecdotal, but over and over I keep hearing people say, their clients say, we have too many demands and not enough time. This is the main problem. They don't respond to your email messages, even if you're in the middle of a project with them and they're not responding to your messages. It's often because they have too many demands and not enough time. They are overburdened, and as much as they want to respond to you and want to work with you and want to give you what you need to do the best job, sometimes they just can't. So the question is, how can you solve this pain? How can you help cure this pain? And I wanted to show you an example of a Marketing Smart website that when someone with that pain lands on it, they could say, this is exactly who I need. This is Whole Brain Creative. And basically the homepage says, get more done and get it done right. We can help you. And the little line underneath there, if you can't read it, says, if you're responsible for the marketing department at your organization and you don't have the time or staff to accomplish everything you want to do, I can make your life easier. We have no idea what she does or how she does it or which services she offers. All she's focused on in this Marketing Smart homepage positioning statement is, I can help you, I can save you time, I can help you get more done and get it done right. That's very effective. There are other common pain points, including the client's product is complex and their customers are confused. If you're a copywriter, that's a pain point you can address quite easily. Even designers, from an information architecture point of view, could address this. Their customers are buying from the competition. If this is their problem, how are you as a creative going to help them solve it? If their website is outdated and embarrassing, which is very common these days, how are you as a web designer going to help them solve that problem? Or they've had bad experiences with unreliable creatives. We all actually go out there with a bad rap against us. They are predisposed to think we are flaky. And so everything you do has to be done with the goal of developing trust and showing them that you are reliable. I wanted to show you another homepage from a Marketing Smart website that is targeting companies, in this case, recruiting firms, actually, whose websites are outdated and embarrassing. So the positioning message says, get a website you'll be proud to show the world. Does your website look dated? Is your site slow to load? Do you find it difficult to edit? Are you embarrassed to share your website with people? You've come to the right place. right? It doesn't say, we do websites for recruiting firms. If you read on, you'll see some of the examples are recruiting firms, but the focus here is on the pain. And someone who has that pain will land here and say, this is exactly who we need. One of the other pain points that your clients struggle with is they say, we need someone who can think strategically, not just produce something, not just be order takers. So how do you show in your marketing that you are someone who can think strategically? And as I said, we need someone we can trust. So how do you show in your qualifying process, in your marketing, in your proposal process? How do you show you can be trusted? Really simple, no-brainer things that you can easily do, perhaps already do, but many people do not for whatever reason. Responding promptly, doing what you say you will do, meeting deadlines, communicating regularly, following up, and following through. These are basic courtesy business practices. You would be surprised how many people do not do them for whatever reason. Just do them, you'll be trusted. And then so finally, how do you find the pain points of the people that you want to work with? Beyond the universal pain points. You can ask them. You can do this online. You can do this in email. You can do this in a networking environment. In fact, this is what I mean by be a business detective when you go do in-person networking and ask questions like, what keeps you up at night? What's your biggest marketing challenge? What would you do if you had more time? People want to talk and they want to share their pain and they want to vent. So ask these questions and you will get the information that you can then use in your content marketing. You can also just listen. Listen to what people complain about. Listen to what questions they ask you over and over and over. If your clients and prospects are asking you the same question over and over, that's what should be in your content. That's what your content is, the answers to those questions. They don't understand, you can educate them. And what problems have they had with other people like you? That's really what you want to know. If they are reluctant to work with you or to pay what you want to charge because the website designer before them disappeared, then how are you going to show them that you are not going to disappear? That's what your biggest challenge is. And finally, you can search for their pain points. Where do your ideal clients go to complain? Do they go online? Is there a forum? Is there a place, a blog, anywhere that they go to complain? You need to find those complaints. What issues are being addressed at their events? Also, are there events that you know they go to? Obviously, if you could go there, that would be great, but you don't even have to go. You could just look at the list of topics that people are speaking on and you can find what their pain points are, because that's the point of the event also, is to help them solve their problems. All right, so the information is out there as soon as you open your mind and start looking for it. In fact, here, this is the blurb for this event, which is based on a pain point that I know you people have, right? How to get better clients with bigger budgets. This is me doing content marketing. You can make content out of every event you attend, including this one, right? So whatever you learn, you pass it along. It might be useful to the people that you come into contact with, especially if you're attending an industry-oriented event. And I'll show you an example of this, where what you learn, the takeaways, could be made available as content to your market. So again, the big idea here is that once you find the market and identify their pain points, then and only then are you ready to choose the tools that you're going to use. So the basic tools, and here again, I'm talking about content marketing. The basic tools are an email newsletter and a blog. Email newsletter is push. You're pushing it to the people who you know and who have given you permission to stay in touch with them. And a blog is pull, because you have to pull the people who are interested in a particular topic and searching for answers on that topic. But these are the simplest and the most basic tools. And if you haven't done any content marketing, then I would suggest starting here with one or the other. or both. And if you have to choose one or the other, I would always start with an email newsletter, because that allows you to get it in front of the people that you want to stay in touch with. Now, often a question I get asked is, well, what if I can't write? Or what if I don't like to write? Then how am I going to do an email newsletter or a blog? And the truth is that content isn't necessarily about only words. There is audio content, there is video content, there is infographics, there's graphic content, and there's words. So based on both what you know how to do and what you will do, and what your market is most open to consuming, that's how you decide what tools you use. And that, perhaps you have to be a business detective also to get that information, or you can experiment to see what format they are most interested in. But beyond the basic tools of email, newsletter, and blogging, we have so many advanced tools as well, including, and this is not an exclusive list, guest blogging, which is actually more effective than blogging on your own blog, is getting your blog posts or articles posted somewhere else where your market is already going. Ebooks and articles, again, where your market is already going. Speaking and webinars like this one. Video on YouTube or Vimeo or even on LinkedIn. Podcasting, one of my very favorite marketing tools, an excellent networking tool, because you basically got a show that you can invite people on, and who wouldn't say no to being on your show? Online courses are advanced content marketing tools as well, although these are a ton of work and not for the faint of heart. Putting on a live event, also a lot of work and very risky, but could be potentially very effective content marketing tool. Case studies and white papers. Again, this is just a few of them. And here I wanted to show you some examples. This is an example from Sparkbox of a case study. So case studies can be posted on your blog, on your website. They can be your portfolio. It's a very effective use of a portfolio. Rather than just showing images of work that you've done, you can show and tell the story of the problem, the pain that someone came to you with, the approach you took, how you thought about it, the solution you came up with, and the results that were affected by that. That is a much more effective content marketing strategy, case study. Or you could just have a resources section on your site, which is excellent content marketing. Also from Sparkbox. And Sparkbox, they're all about thought leadership and content marketing. And they started a workshop series called the Maker Series, where they invite people to come and speak. And that's just a separate thing that they do, but also gives them excellent exposure and an opportunity to teach both their prospects and their clients and their colleagues. So there's so much you could do with content marketing, but one very effective way to connect the dots of all of these marketing tools is to feature your prospects in your content. All right, so this is a little tricky to understand, so I'm going to give you some examples. For example, this is a newsletter from Bluebird Design, and she focuses on children's related and educational design. So she went to the toy fair and she featured the prospects that she met at the toy fair in a newsletter she called The Best of Show. And then she reached out to them and said, look, I featured you and your products, and that gets a conversation going in a way that does not put the client on the defensive, basically. It's more collaborative, it's more inclusive, and it gets a conversation going, and that's really what you want. So who can you feature in your newsletter? You could do a roundup post. So this is an example of someone I know who surveyed 5 to 10, he actually surveyed 50 of his colleagues on their favorite business books. And you could just survey 5 or 10 of your dream clients on their favorite business books or their favorite websites or their favorite podcasts or their favorite anything. It's just an excuse to be in touch with people. And then you integrate that content into your content marketing, whether it's a blog or a podcast or post it on LinkedIn, and then they also share it so you get additional exposure. Or more than that, over and above that, you can co-present a case study at an industry event with one of your clients. So you can do speaking. Speaking is a very effective content marketing tool. Or, as I said, you could do a podcast. And this is an example from one of the designers I showed you earlier, Hartwell Studio Works. He has a sports branding podcast, and he basically uses it to invite his dream clients to share their experience or their pain points on the show, right? And that gets him and them into a conversation that isn't him trying to sell something to them. That's really what you're trying to facilitate here. And this kind of content marketing builds trust by association. So that's really important. And here I'm showing you, this is a documentary called The Story of Content, The Rise of the New Marketing. And I put the link down there from the Content Marketing Institute, because really this is where marketing is going. So if you can do content marketing for yourself, then you can show them that you're doing it for yourself, and that shows that you can help them with that, because this is where marketing is going. And the fact that you know this and can help your clients do it is going to be a boost for you. Okay, now I want to give you the example, the case study, which is the copywriter that I mentioned earlier, Conrad Winter, and show you how he connects all these dots together. So here's Conrad. He lives in New Jersey. He's curious, he's smart, he's an excellent writer, he's a self-described introvert, he's a little bit self-deprecating, and I think way too self-critical. He would probably agree with me about that. So for someone like that to be doing this kind of extroverted marketing, I think says something. So here again is his homepage that says, "You found me." And I'll just read the top of it there. It says, "What was it that brought you here? Did you search for B2B copywriter, or was it freelance or Marcom writer? Maybe it was an industry specialty that steered you my way, transportation and logistics, training, supply chain." So it's not about him, it's about them, and he's speaking directly to them using the word you. That is very compelling on a homepage. All right, and you can see training and transportation and logistics is highlighted. It's a link which says there's more there if you look for it, which is why that's one of his focuses or niches. It's not his only niche, but it's one of them. This is his LinkedIn profile, and I'll only point out that you can see what his niche and his focus is in his title, which says campaign and content copywriter for transportation and logistics. So because LinkedIn is essentially Google, a professional Google search engine, people who are searching for copywriters for transportation and the logistics industry, which is a growing industry, by the way, because of Amazon, then they will find him easily. He will come up, and that's how people do, in fact, find him. And then I told him, you have to find where your ideal clients are. And he came back because he found the Transportation Marketing and Sales Association. This is the Marketing and Sales Association for that target market. That's all he needs to find his best prospects. If you can find one association that brings together your ideal prospects, you're golden. Then we learned about the annual conference that they have in Florida. And so I, of course, encouraged him to go, and he didn't want to, but he did go, and he thanked me later. And his networking strategy was business detective, asking lots of questions, which relieves the pressure on you to talk. If you go with your questions, you don't have to do all the talking. So Conrad's content, based on that particular market and that association, it addresses the pain points of his dream clients, which he learned about by attending the event. And here, this is also from his LinkedIn profile, and it basically says his focus is B2B companies, in-house agencies, design studios, and small agencies in many industries, but I specialize in 3: shipping and logistics, ed tech, and technology. And then he addresses the pain points, basically business services that are specialized and complex and can benefit from my ability to simplify and clarify. So again, addressing the pain points in his own marketing content. And then this is his Why Me page, which I pulled out. The important copy here is what it says is you need. It's all about you. Their his clients. You need copywriting that helps you rise above your competition. You need a copywriter who will give your writing project the personal attention it deserves. You have many different copywriting needs and you want to integrate them all. You need a project writer, but what you really want is a partner, right? So again, speaking to the pain and the needs of his clients, they may not even be aware of these needs, but once you articulate them, then they say, oh, this is exactly who we need. So Conrad's content addresses the pain points that he's aware of his dream clients, and then and only then does he decide what the formats are, and the format and the placement is dictated by the market. So he's got his own blog, but there's also a blog for this trade association, the Transportation Marketing and Sales Association. So he proposed to be a guest blogger on their blog, and they said yes, of course, because they need content. Everybody needs content. So if you offer up content, they are very likely to say yes. He also creates his content in his own email newsletter and on his LinkedIn profile. So here's his blog, here's his email newsletter, and here is the guest blog, one of 4, actually, guest blog posts that he did. This one is called A Newbie's Takeaway from the 2018 TMSA Logistics, Marketing, and Sales Conference. So he went to the event, he created content out of what he learned, and then he regurgitated it back as a guest blog post for them. Right? That's how you connect all the dots. And then they distributed it through LinkedIn and tagged him. And here is what he said about the whole experience. He said, the event was awesome. I met so many people and they were surprisingly friendly. He didn't expect them to be friendly for some reason. Now I feel so much more comfortable in this industry, starting to see my role and how I can help people. This can be sustaining if I can get them to bring me in and be part of their team. And that is, in fact, what is happening. So the 3 most effective marketing tools that are part of this simplest marketing plan, as I've said, strategic networking, targeted outreach, and high-quality pain point bat signal content marketing. So the idea, if it isn't clear yet, I want to articulate it clearly, is that you're going to turn this strategic networking into actually research for your content. You're going to go as a business detective and ask a lot of questions. And you're going to use your targeted outreach so that you can interview people for your content. So instead of saying, hey, don't you need my services? You're going to say, hey, I'm writing a blog post about this topic and I'd love your perspective. Or, hey, don't you want to be on my show? And you're using your content as an excuse to reach out to your ideal clients. And it's real. And so the simplest marketing plan in a nutshell is where networking and outreach meet content marketing, and it features your ideal clients. All right, I said a lot. I'm just going to recap briefly, right? That you identify the market, you find their pain points, you choose the tools, and then you build the content strategy on that. And one final thing before we open it up to questions, Patrick, is you make generosity, curiosity, and generosity your guiding principles. And I think generosity especially is important in content marketing because you are sharing what you know. You're sharing what you know about what they're struggling with, especially you're not giving away all your secrets, but you are sharing what you know. And the people who appreciate that will be drawn to you, and that's what will start the conversation. And then you have to cultivate those relationships because relationships are everything. So if you want the PowerPoint for this presentation, you can get it at gettalk.at/communo. I have up there one of my videos from the Creative Live course. It's called How to Find Your Focus, and this PowerPoint as a PDF. All right, I'm going to stop talking now, Patrick.
Okay. Thank you for that, Ilise. That was amazing. I hope you guys took away from it as much as I did. I actually updated my LinkedIn profile while we were talking. Yeah, absolutely. That's really funny. Tons of great information here. I'm going to turn it over to the Q&A here in a moment here. If you do have questions, there's a tab, not the chat tab, the Q&A tab, just to keep things organized where you can ask questions. And I will run through a couple here just before we wrap up for the session. So our first question comes from Michelle. Michelle is a PR practitioner. She runs a one-person organization. She actually helps us out with a lot of our PR. And she asks, when you say generosity, what is your opinion of working for free as a way to get your foot in the door?
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about pro bono. I'm talking about what you have that's helpful, but I think you don't want to set a precedent with anyone that you're going to work for free, because once they've gotten something for free, it makes it very difficult to begin to pay for it. So unless you are going to always work for free for a particular nonprofit or client, that's not what I mean by generosity.
Gotcha. I think that makes sense. Michelle also asks, you talked about scope creep in a video she watched. Can you expand a little bit on scope creep and how to handle and address that with the client?
Okay, so scope creep is when the initial agreement of what you're going to do for them and how much they're going to pay you for it starts to creep, right? And that happens often with digital projects, especially a website. Oh, we need an extra page, or copywriting. Oh, we need an extra this. And before you know it, if you have not said, wait a minute, this is not what we agreed to. We agreed you were going to get this for this price. Then you end up doing a lot more for less money. So the challenge there is not letting that little window of time go by when you must speak up and say something. And really all you're saying is, wait a minute, let's just talk about this, because this is not what we agreed to. And you negotiate. You're not saying, no, you have to pay more. You're saying, are you aware? Because sometimes they're not aware that what they're asking for is not part of what the initial agreement was. So that's really the conversation that you have to have.
Absolutely. Lindy Bostrom here asks, well, she says, Ilise, I love the idea of curiosity and generosity, but what are some examples of secrets that you wouldn't want to reveal?
You know, the way I think about this, and I tend to err on the side of giving stuff away in general, because I really don't think there's anything original or precious or special about anything any of us does, truthfully. And so when you share the way you think about something, what you keep to yourself, what the secret is, and it's not a secret because you're not telling, it's just a secret because it may take some time to get to how you might apply the main concepts of what you do to a particular client's problem, right? So it's not that you're not telling them, it's just that you don't know yet how exactly we're going to solve this problem. But in general, here's how I think about it. Here's how I approach it. Is that clear, that distinction?
Yep, makes sense to me.
All right, we'll see if Lindy agrees.
Lindy, if you want to jump in the chat there, you can let us know. She says, yes, thank you.
Okay.
Holly Bird here asks, when you rely on your own word of mouth, it's another way to say you take whatever you can get. Is there an instance where word of mouth is an actual strategy?
Yes, there are ways to generate word of mouth. You can ask for referrals, but the problem in my mind with the referrals is that timing is everything when it comes to marketing. So even if you ask, do you know anyone else who needs my services? Can you refer me to someone else in your organization? If they don't have a need at that moment, then you still have to cultivate that relationship as if it were a brand new relationship. So the only benefit to it is that it's not cold, which is not, it is a benefit, but the thing about word of mouth is that people come when they're in their moment of need. And when you get used to people being ready, then it's very difficult actually to get unused to them not being ready. And that means you have to cultivate those relationships. And people become very impatient because they're not used to taking all that time and effort until people are ready.
That's great. Jesse here has a quick question as it relates to generosity as well. He's asking, is it generous to subsidize your work pricing or to overlook scope creep in increments?
Well, only if the client is aware of it, right? If you don't tell them that you are throwing something in, or that you are waiving a fee, or that you are including something that was not included, then they have no way of knowing that they're actually getting something that was not agreed to. So it doesn't really count as generosity. You don't get credit for it.
Yeah, get that credit, Jesse. Here's a common one. We often get a lot of clients asking for social media. Not sure why they want it, but they're asking for it. And Patricia wants to know, when's a good time to get your clients into the world of social media?
So you're talking about offering social media as a service?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure I can answer that question. I mean, it really depends on who the client is, who their client or customer is, what they're marketing, and which platforms. I would just say that social media is not all that. You know, it's free and it's easy, and that's why people do it. But unless it's used strategically, it doesn't work.
Sage advice. I have a question, actually, and maybe you can enlighten me a bit here. I think you talked a lot about positioning at the very start, which I thought was incredibly helpful. In Communo, everybody inherently positions niche. That's something we force in our community. But what I think our members are very curious to discover and uncover as they work together is how to widen that positioning with their clients over time and with each other. And I was curious if you had any advice on how to pivot your positioning and your relationship away from an initial need and pain point to one of partnership and really just a support to anybody's needs as it relates to marketing or creative or digital services.
Well, I'll try to answer that. It's kind of abstract, but I'll try. I would start by saying that your positioning is constantly evolving. It's never finished. It's never static. And it's different in each person's mind. So you have to listen and watch for how a client, especially an existing client, because that's the only ones you have information from, is pigeonholing you, basically. Because there's a difference between positioning and pigeonholing. And if you want them to understand the breadth of your capabilities, then you have to use your marketing to do that. And that means sharing examples of other work that you do that they may not be aware of. It may mean sharing case studies or anything, actually, ideas. Like maybe you notice something that they could be doing or could be doing better, and they don't even know that you know how to advise on that type of thing. You can volunteer that information or volunteer a consultation for a fee to fix something you see that you think could be improved. That's my answer.
Gotcha. And Patricia, just to clarify, positioning is what you tell the world, and pigeonholing is what the world thinks of you.
I like that.
Last question here. Andy Brentis is asking, as a solo practitioner, I struggle with my schedule and knowing how much time to spend on all of the marketing, quote, on non-billable work and client work, which is billable, and how much time you suggest we set aside for our own marketing development.
So the minimum is 30 minutes a day. And that 30 minutes a day should be, I would say, first thing, if possible, early in the week, early in the day. Get it out of the way. Focus your best attention on your own business and then turn to your clients. And you may not be able to manage it every day, but if you do, the equivalent of 30 minutes a day over the course of the week or more, because if you don't have work, then your job is to do your marketing, and it would require more time and you would get more out of it. But the standard that I advise is 30 minutes a day.
That's great. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time and expertise, Ilise. I think you've communicated an incredible amount of value to the participants here today. And if you guys haven't had a chance to get to gettalk.at/communo, please do go there so you can download the PowerPoint and find some videos to help you find your focus. And please stay tuned for future professional development sessions, hopefully a future one with Ilise as well. Ilise, did you have anything to add before we sign off?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you, Patrick.
All right. Thanks so much, everyone. You have a great day and take care.